So every year, I like to participate in this little thing, maybe you heard of it, our fantasy bingo. It's an annual bingo board created by the mods on an Reddit fantasy forum, basically. And they give you, I think it's like, 25 prompts, hard mode, easy mode, as long as you're reading speculative fiction. I do think this series falls under that. And one of my favorite prompts for the 2026 period, it starts usually April to March. My favorite prompt this year has got to be eating the books that you read. Eating the books? Yeah, just eat the book. Paper and all. No, eating food that is in the books. And what better series to devour than a series of unfortunate events by Lemony Snicket? Like, it's the perfect one. I, growing up, was obsessed with the movie and the Baudelaire children making pasta puttanesca instead of roast beef like Count Olaf desired. And no, I'm not making roast beef because it's 100 degrees outside. It's summer, baby. We're not doing that. But please join me as I get to read a series of unfortunate events for the very first time in my life, but still feels so very nostalgic to me. I'm quite excited. I hope this goes well. And we're going to be eating a lot of good food mentioned throughout the series. Literally don't look at these shelves. Like, pretend they're not there. They're aesthetically good to have in the background. They're getting a facelift here very soon. I'm still debating on what exactly I want to do. It'll probably be an upcoming video, but these stacks of, it's gonna get better. I just have stacks around me. Anywho, the bad beginning. Let's begin with the Baudelaire orphans, where they start on Briny Beach as Mr. Poe comes to them through the mist to inform them that their parents have died in a tragic fire burning down their entire literal mansion. Like the Clue aesthetic, like the dark browns, like literally my house, like the emerald green and the dark browns. I imagine that being like their entire house, just like massive scale, like huge, because they're wealthy. But their parents are dead, and now they're sent off to their first guardian, Count Olaf, the legend himself, the icon. I do have a lot of appreciation for Count Olaf just from the adaptations that I've seen. I've seen the movie a bajillions of times, and I've seen the Netflix show once through, and I'm hoping after finishing reading the series that I can watch the show again and hopefully, enjoy another lens of it, another, like, appreciate the more it gives because it has more perspectives rather than just focusing on the kids. Anyways, the bad beginning, I'm getting ahead of myself, follows the Baudelaire orphans as they're going to their first guardian, Count Olaf, who is a theater actor, troupe member, with the kookiest little cast of characters around him, his henchmen, and is just diabolical. Makes these kids do chores, doesn't care for them in any way, shape, or form, but we understand his motive very early on, that he needs them to get the money, because his scheme went awry. His scheme was foiled. It went kapooey. Violet Baudelaire did not marry her guardian. God bless. She's 14 years old, and he's like, well, with my permission, it's totally okay if we get married, and then I can have all your money to fix up my nice, not very nice mansion. It's kind of a little bit like, it's fine. It's good size. It's a very large size, but it's a little bit dusty. And anyways, he's like, yeah, I'm going to use all your money to fix it up, but I have to marry you first. But Violet, she's too smart. She's the genius. She always puts her hair up in a ribbon. If I had ribbon, I would do it, I promise. And she is the inventor of the family. Whereas Klaus, her younger brother, he's 12, 13. He, like many of us, is a reader. He likes to read, he likes to research, he likes to know things. He's very good with vocabulary words. And then we have little Sunny, who's, I don't know. It specifically says Violet and Klaus's age. I don't know what Sunny's age is. Like, is she still an infant? Because she's crawling, which makes me think she's maybe, like, 1. I don't know her age. But she doesn't, like, talk in normal human sentences. But it is, like, cleverly done, where some of the words, like, you can understand. There's, like, if you know what the word means, you can kind of get, like, a hint at what she's saying before it's explained to you. But I enjoyed that very much. And anyways, Sunny likes to bite. She's got 4 very, very sharp teeth. But Violet, smart girl, was like, I'm not going to marry you, Count Olaf. That's weird, actually. So instead, she's like, I'll sign it with my left hand because I'm right-handed, and that means that the contract won't work. And they put on this, like, elaborate play. The reason I'm kind of, like, brushing over this, because I'm assuming anybody who's seen this is, like, very familiar. Like, I maybe it's not fair to you. I'm so very familiar with the first 3 books because those first 3 books are what make the movie that I know to heart. Like that, I got that locked in me. And so it feels like a redundant plot for me to explain the whole thing to you. But that is the setup where we find out that Count Olaf really wants the Baudelaire fortune, and he will do anything to get it, even if it means marrying a 14-year-old girl or chasing them to the ends of the earth. Who's to say? This entire story is written by Lemony Snicket, aka Daniel Handler, the genius behind the series. And I think it's very fun to have the fourth wall broken down and like the tongue-in-cheek of it. It's like a little bit campy. I really enjoy the way that it's written, which is interesting because if I was reading anything else, I think, I don't know. I think I excuse it because of the format and the way that it's done, but also because I'm not thinking about it. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is I have a really hard time with books written in the epistolary style. Why? Because it bothers me how somebody would write in their journal verbatim conversations that would happen. It just doesn't feel realistic to me because I don't do that when I journal. Like, I don't write the full conversation out because I don't remember all the words that were used. And so I have a hard time suspending my disbelief when I read a letter diary based story. This is written by Lemony Snicket, who's sharing his investigative work. He, tracked down, he went to these locations, he tracked down the Baudelaires to see what happened, interviewed people that were around, like learned the facts to then report and tell in these stories. And I think that's such a interesting premise already to be like, okay, we're fourth walling, we're masterminding, like we're going big boy. And I love that. But realistically, Lemony Snicket was not in the room for these conversations, especially the conversations that happened with just the 3 kids and nobody else. Like, there's no way he would know these conversations. And so if I really get nitpicky and think about it too much, it kind of pisses me off because I'm like, you weren't there. You don't know the words. So you're just telling me a version of it, and this is how history gets rewritten. Which is silly and a little bit dumb. But anyways, we're making pasta puttanesca for dinner, of course, because it's like the main thing in this book. And that's kind of like the gist of what... Oh, but I do have to tell you. I am making picky eater pasta puttanesca, which is basically spaghetti but with olives, which I don't typically put olives in my spaghetti. I don't have any capers in my house, and I don't plan on buying capers for one video because I'm never going to use them again. I don't care for them. Like, if they were already in my house, I would absolutely use them. But I'm not going to go out of my way to buy them because I know I'm not really interested in using them in the future. Capiche? Also, I'm using black olives because I only like black olives. All the other olives, icky to me. So it's going to be really fun eating my way through the series as did the Baudelaire orphans because I'm a picky eater. I have a lot of food rules and things that I just cannot get by. I am trying to be better as an adult, but it is a really big challenge and a lot of mental breakdowns of trying to force myself to eat things that I just don't like. So anyways, pasta puttanesca, everybody. What a time. So I'm going to make pasta puttanesca tonight, and then I'm going to hopefully read... My goal would be, if possible, to read The Reptile Room and the 3rd book, the one with Aunt Josephine, because those are the 3, core nostalgia series, books to me, just because, again, I'm just picturing the movie, and so I'm excited to get to them. I love Uncle Monty, I love The Reptile Room, I love all those freaky little snakes and lizards, and just, that freaky little man. But also, I think I am projecting a little bit too much of the movie onto the series, where it's well, now I'm just picturing Jim Carrey as Count Olaf, as Stefan in the movie, as the book, and it's not the same, and I know that it, deviates drastically from the series, but it's fun for me, and who cares? It's my little imagination. If I want to picture it, I will. But yeah, it makes me very excited to pick up the next books. So, with that said, pasta puttanesca and The Reptile Room. They don't go together, but that feels like a clue moment. It was Count Olaf with the pasta puttanesca in The Reptile Room. Anywho's, I'll see you later.
Puttanesca. It's an Italian sauce for pasta. All we need to do is saute olives, capers, anchovies, garlic, chop parsley, and tomatoes together in a pot, and prepare spaghetti to go with it.
It is later. I will be starting book 3, but in bed. Comfortably. Sleepily. I finished The Reptile Room, and I love Uncle Monty. He's so good. He just cares about the kids, and he appreciates their interests, and I really like that. And he's a little freak. I love him. He's just I guess, the juxtaposition of Count Olaf and Uncle Monty, like, they're so different, because Uncle Monty is, like, the big villain, and, no, because Count Olaf is the big villain, and Uncle Monty is just, like, a chill dude that loves snakes, and, like, doesn't care about anything else, but it's like, we're going to Peru, baby. Which, imagine if they went to Peru with Uncle Monty, and no Count Olaf. How, hopefully, less unfortunate their lives would be. How fortunate their lives could have been. But yeah, I really like this one. It went so fast. I think these books average to probably be like 160 pages per book. Like, they're really short. They're children's books, so it makes sense. I will say that it gets a little bit annoying how they're constantly explaining words to them like they're idiots when they're very smart, or explaining words because Sunny doesn't know them, which is, like, I think a good excuse, because, again, it is a kid's series, like, it is a book for children. So we should be explaining words to them, and I think that is important, but I'm an adult, and therefore, there's some words that I'm like, I know this information. We could not do this. I'm trying to meet the book where it's at, and trying to, like, put my brain in, like, if I was still a kid, this would rule, and I'd be learning so much, and I'd feel so smart, because then I could, like, go to the dinner table and be like, I learned what this word means, and I'd feel like a badass, because I did that in school. I had actually a much larger vocabulary then, and I would assume that my vocabulary has grown as an adult, and I'm less cognizant of it, but, like, as a kid, I was throwing out big words all the time, and I was like, I'm so smart and so good at this, and I've lost that over the years, I think just because, like, I'm not, I don't know, anxiety. I talk less, and I say less things, in a good way. She says that she has a YouTube channel. Anyways, I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, I'm annoyed with constantly being told, like, what words mean, because, like, I know. And then also, it's like, I understand it's, like, showing the adults, like, the guardians are talking down to the kids, because they're like, you obviously wouldn't know this kind of somewhat normal word, but, like, with context, they would have understood it anyway. Like, I, the reader, understand it with context, but then it's, like, a weird thing of, it's like, the guardian, the adult, is talking down to the kid, being like, you're unintelligent, you don't know these things, so I need to explain it to you, but it also feels like Lemony Snicket is doing that to me, the reader. Lemony Snicket, I'm 27 years old. So, I think that's my biggest gripe with the series so far, is just, like, there could be less words. Like, these could be shorter, or there could be, like, more action if you took that out. But I think it's really fun how oblivious adults are to Count Olaf, and they're just like, obviously, that can't be a man in disguise. No way, no how. Like, just, like, the constant failure of adults seeing another adult play dress up and be like, obviously the same person. Like, there's two parts to it. Part one is that I know people say, like, if you're, I don't condone this, guys. I'm not giving you advice. I'm stating a fact that I don't know if it's true or not. But it is said that if you're going to commit a crime, it helps to, like, have a really big feature on your face that, like, really changes something. Like, if you have, like, a really large scar, because bystanders are really bad at giving witness statements, and so if you had something that's, like, so noticeable but removable, cops are bad at their job, you could probably get away with a lot of things. But I don't think that if I had a scar on my face and then removed it, you'd be like, that's a completely different person. Like, you know, like, it still does the job enough. That was the first part of it. But the second part of it is just, like, I understand the point is, like, the adults are failing the kids because the kids are smarter than the adults. I do get that. I do. I understand that. That's, like, the point. But it is, like, silly to a point where it's just, like, Stefano talks in an accent, and there's not really, like, he's not, like, so cleverly disguised, but, like, what baffles me is, like, these people know him. Like, everybody, like, I know we haven't gotten to the mystery yet. I'm getting ahead of myself again. I'm spoiling. I'm spoiling if you're reading along with me, but there's a secret society that everybody's, like, a part of. But you mean to tell me that, like, Uncle Monty, who would realistically know who Count Olaf was, like, they're in the same circles, wouldn't recognize him? And I know it's gonna be, like, a repeating thing, because Count Olaf's gonna be, I presume, in every book, because, like, that's the point. But that does make me wonder. I'm like, how do you guys not notice him in a disguise? They're not that good. But I don't know. That's not the point. I'm not supposed to dive this deep into it. I'm supposed to, you know, enjoy it and chill. But anyways, I like the Deadly Viper. That was really nice. I don't remember the full title. The Super Deadly Viper. I'm not a snake person. The way they move freaks me out a little bit. But, and yeah, so basically the ultra deadly viper is like a little puppy, but in snake form, and bonds with Sunny, and I think that's precious. I think that's very cute. So yeah, I think that's all that I have to say. I'm obviously very tired, and I don't remember anything else that I was wanting to say. So, the reptile room, 4 stars. 4.5 stars? 4 to 4.5 stars. I'll decide later. On to the next. Aunt Josephine! Hello, good evening. I've gotten ready for bed. I've taken off my makeup, washed my face, put my retainer in. I did all the things. I've made it kind of cozy in here for the best you can on a hot summer's eve. I have my Kindle to read book 3, The Wide Window, and hopefully it's only 8 p.m. So I'm also hoping to read The Miserable Mill, but The Wide Window is like, as far as my lore knowledge really goes, I very clearly remember the movie, and the movie basically encompasses the first 3 books out of slight order. So I'm very familiar with Aunt Josephine and her whole shebang, but I don't really know what to expect beyond this. I know the formula will be the same. This is an interesting one. So book 3, 4, and 5, after some research, have been narrated by Lemony Snicket, where all of the rest are narrated by Tim Curry. I don't know what that's about. Also, the first book that I listened to was full cast, full sound effects, music, the whole shebang, which was a little bit distracting. But the second one and the rest of them are just Tim Curry on his own, no multiple narrations or anything like that. So I'm wondering if it's like older narration versus newer. I haven't really looked into it that deep, to be honest. That's just my surface level thoughts of like what I've figured out so far. But I'm going to read The Wide Window. I don't know why I struggle so hard with remembering the title of this one. They're all alliterations. They're not that hard. They're children's books. I should know them, but for some reason I really struggle. So, you know what else I've been struggling with lately? Reading. No, this is not an ad for anything. This vlog has taken me so long. Other vlog projects are taking me so long. I am struggling so hard with not necessarily wanting to read, but sitting down to read, having time to read, having the desire to sit down to read. Like, I want to, but for some reason, like, it's using more brain power to read than I have right now. And I've talked about in other videos that my mental health this summer has been a bit tricky, if you will. And so I think a lot of it is probably coming from that, and also just like using other ways to have a creative outlet. But I'm really excited about stuff, and I'll have like a really good day where I'm like, I'm so pumped to be doing this thing that's coming up. This project is so fun for me. Like, this has been such a passion project. I've had this idea for so long. And then the execution part of it is where I'm really like struggling, and it sucks. I hate being in this mindset and place at this moment in time. But hopefully, I will figure it out and it'll all be good again. But with that said, I'm going to read. So hopefully I keep this mojo going and I can continue the process. That's all I can really ask for in these times, is just to, do my best and try not to beat myself up for like missing uploads or not doing the things that I'm wanting to do. It's fine. It's part of the process. Anyways, I'm going to stop yapping because y'all don't care about that in this video. This video is about the Baudelaire children and their unfortunate events. So, off to it I go. So I finished the 3rd book, The Wide Window, last night, and I just, passed out afterwards, as you would. And I think it's my favorite so far. It's the first one that I've given 5 stars. I really liked that we got, I guess it just like more solidified the formula where it's like each caregiver has a personality trait, and like that's like their big interest and topic, and so they have a library dedicated to that topic. And I just really like that thematically. Aunt Josephine was really into grammar and has honestly just like the coolest atmosphere of like being on this like cliff and the house over the lake, and it just being very like spooky vibes already without being spooky. It just reminds me of the coast. And I love the Oregon coast when it's like gloomy and cloudy and raining. So it kind of just reminds me of that. And so I like it. But also, this one definitely had more action than the rest. It's definitely not where the kids, the Baudelaire orphans, feel like the happiest. They preferred the reptile room, Monty's house, which is like so fair, so valid. It was cool if you like snakes and lizards. But I really liked this one. I liked every time we broke the fourth wall. I feel like we're explaining vocabulary but not overly done so to the point where I'm like getting annoyed in this one. It was just like, it was well done. It was like explaining phrases and like more than it was explaining words and like what words meant. And a lot of the times it's like, we know what the word means because we're smart kids. We also got to see the anxious clown, which was great. That was my dinner last night. So yes, I enjoyed it. Then I started and jumped into The Miserable Mill. I don't love it just because like it's not a very fun setting overall. And I find it kind of silly that a bunch of kids, including a literal infant, is hanging out in a lumber mill where it's very dangerous and they get a 5-minute lunch break with a stick of bubblegum and one dinner. Like, obviously the point is that it's a terrible and unfortunate event, but it's not like the most fun to read either. It's just kind of, it feels more depressing than the last book, if that makes sense. But I'm gonna finish The Miserable Mill tonight, and then my hopes and goals is to also finish the one at the school, which is the next book, before I go to bed, because I just got off work not too long ago. So it's gonna be dinner, finish these 2 books is kind of my goals for the night. We'll see how far I get. It's already like 7:30, so. I seem to accomplish only reading about half of a book when I say I'm gonna go to bed soon. Don't know what that's about, but I did get halfway through the Austere Academy, I think, Austere Academy, and I am so happy to be at the school. Like, there's just something about like a stupid school setting with stupid rules where the baby has to be the secretary, even though she's an infant. She's like a literal baby. And I also just love, oh, now I'm blanking on her name, Carmilla Sweets, something like that. And I just, she's such an obnoxious but incredible character. But we also get to meet the twins. What is it? Duncan, Deacon, and Isabel. I'm flopping with these names. But we get to meet the twins who have very similar circumstances to the Baudelaire orphans of their parents dying in a fire. I keep forgetting that I can spoil in this video and like just talk about the plot. So I'm sorry if I haven't been doing that. But yeah, they've shown up at the academy and they're stuck in the orphan shack, which is just like a shack with 3 hay bales for beds and crabs that like to pinch their toes and tan fungus that is like dripping from the ceiling. Ugh, I hate that. But I'm really having fun with this one. Like, The Miserable Mill was genuinely so miserable. Like, true to its name, was just like dread reading it. There was no fun to it. It was just sad the whole time. So this one I'm having more fun because it's like, although there's silly rules still. Okay, I'm being ambushed. Hi. So even though there's still silly rules of like, if you're late to class, then you don't get silverware, and then if you don't show up to his 6-hour violin recital performance every single night, then you have to eat with your hands tied behind your back. It's just, they're very silly rules, but I also kind of love that about it. Like, it just makes it fun and a little bit silly and wacky, and I'm really here for like the silly and wacky right now. I read a terrible book, off topic, not related to this video, terrible book today at work. Which was very disappointing. So I'm excited to jump back into this and like jump into it. At this point in time, I am looking forward most to the Carniverse Carnival. You know I love a carnival book. But anyways, that's all that I had to say for now. I'm going to read tonight, make dinner, do all the things. I got off work. Woo! Okay, we're locking in. It is like 11 a.m., I think, and I finished last night book 6, which was the Austere Academy, and I think that's my second favorite. I think right now it would be the Wide Window, the Austere Academy, the Reptile Room, the Bad Beginning, and then the Miserable Mill. I think that's my order of favorites so far. So, I mean, so far so good. I really liked the Austere Academy because it adds so much element, because you have new characters. There felt like there was a lot more plot going on. Things had mattered and consequences, and it felt like Count Olaf had plans that actually like made sense as far as like the flimsy disguise can go. And I like the campiness of that. And overall, it was just like a fun reading experience. It was just like enjoyable, which I am really glad about, really thankful for. And so I really liked that because it kind of follows the same format, but also in a way broke the format because motives and plans are shifting, and so it feels more grand than the previous books have been. So that was really exciting for me. So that's why I liked it, just because Count Olaf by the end takes the two Quagmire kids, because they also have a fortune of the Quagmire sapphires. So he's like, I'll get your guys' fortune later. I'm gonna take these easy kids because wham bam thank you ma'am. And I like them being included. I like there being more characters, especially other kid characters that have like the same, I guess, prodigy type style, like all a part of the, oh, we also get the clue of the VFD. I don't remember what the V stands for. It's something I think kind of dumb, but I know it stands for fire department. Like their families were a part of the fire department club. I do remember that much. But I don't remember like a lot of the specifics. I do feel like I'm going to read the whole series and then I'm still going to be missing some of like the deep Lemony Snicket lore. But you know, that's fine. Like that, it is what it is. Like I'm gonna get enough knowledge and it should make enough sense to me. But it's exciting reading the source material. So today's plan, I'm locking in. I am going to finish book 6, which is the Erat's Elevator, which is like the fancy rich people. And then I'm going to lock in and I'm going to finish book 7, which is the Vile Village. So that's today's plans. I will not leave this couch until I have finished both of these books. And then I can kind of, you know, figure out my day from there. But that's kind of the big plan. It's just like, get these read. I need to really lock in with the series because I've been struggling with wanting to pick anything up, let alone like sit still and read. But there's currently a cat on my lap. And therefore, I can't go many places anyway. So her and I are just going to hang out here and enjoy the snuggles and read this book. I started the elevator last night, just very loosely. So I read the first chapter, which was like 19 pages. And basically it was just like the setup of like Mr. Poe takes the kids to their new guardian, and their new guardian lives like 40 or 80 floors high in this very like trend-setting type of building, all apartments of like wealthy people, and it's all dark because dark is in and light is out, and elevators are out and stairs are in. So it's like all stupid trends. So yeah, I don't remember if I had mentioned it previously, but there's definitely moments where this book definitely feels like it's from 1999 in the early 2000s. And I know that the author behind Lemony Snicket, like Daniel Handler, is like a genuinely like decent human, like is not is no Neil Gaiman, at least to our public knowledge. And so I feel confident that although he has written some maybe questionable things, like the minion of Count Olaf, who is not man nor woman, and instead of using they them pronouns, which would have been perfectly fine in the English language back then, really like hones in like not a woman, not a man, refers to them as it. And so it's like not everything about it is perfect. So the way that they talk about the minions, but also like they're the bad guys, so of course. But yeah, every once in a while there's just like something that ages the book a little bit, and not in like a so offensive way, but just in like, okay, sure kind of way, where you're like, I'll turn a blind eye to this because like I know it's not the feelings of the author like bleeding into the world. It's just kind of like meant to be like this kooky thing. But I am curious about anybody who has read this as a child, if like all of the breaking the fourth wall warnings actually like scared them, if there was ever like a moment where the book felt too dark and heavy where they're like, I'm a child, I can't actually read this, because I'm 27 years old. And so I'm just curious like what the experience would have been like if I was actually a kid, because like we all read the Goosebumps, we all read some freaky stuff, and so yeah, I'm just kind of curious of like what a young reader's perspective would be. But I digress. Off to reading I shall go.
Chapter 5. Cafe Salmonella was located in the fish district.
Done with book 6. I really liked it. It's fun. It's definitely like all of my memories of it are from the show, and so it's fun like seeing it in the written word. But I really liked Jerome, who is like their guardian, even though Esme is like the evil witch he's married to. But I really liked him as a guardian because one of my favorite things that you can have in a book like this is I really enjoy the recall of, as the series continues, like bringing things up that happened in previous books. Like, it's not a one-off thing. It's like, oh, remember those knots that we used in the previous book? Well, now we're going to use those knots again. And Olaf must have learned from the previous books that he has to get more advanced locks because we know how to pick them. Like, I really appreciate that the characters have learned from the previous books, and it's not just, like, completely wiped from memories. I find that happens so often in series, so I really appreciate that. The other thing I really appreciate is we're getting more, like, memories of the kids' childhood, and we're getting guardians like Jerome who were friends with their parents and, like, have the memories, like, they went around town and, like, got to talk to him about their parents and stuff. I just think that adds such a beautiful layer, even if it is, like, really small and minor details. It's really nice to be like, remember when our parents, like, their feet hurt so bad we had to make salads? Oh, and salads would have been perfect for Aunt Josephine because she didn't like the oven. Like, I really like the connections that are being made, and it's not just standalone books in a series, if that makes sense. I really like that about this. And so I thought Jerome, although, you know, not a great guardian overall, I thought he was one of the better ones just because he cared about the kids and he has experience in the town and he knows the parents and is, like, interested in the kids and, like, wants their well-being. And I also really appreciate that even though he, you know, gives up guardian because they're on a mission to save their friends, that he's just like, you guys are a lot more courageous than I am. Your parents always said that, like, I'm just not. He's like a go with the flow kind of guy. Like, he doesn't like to argue. He's not gonna put himself at risk for unknown children. But I also find it interesting that he doesn't know about VFD and doesn't know about the Quagmires, because that feels very, like, interconnected to the parents. But I don't know what kind of relationship they had, so I don't know. But this one was a lot of fun because we had so many food drops, like, so many food drops. Salmon is, like, the main one, so salmon dinner, huzzah. We get to have ice cream sandwich dessert, huzzah. But yeah, like, there were just, like, eggs and toast, like, so I was highlighting so many food mentions. Like, this is definitely the most food heavy of the series, so that's a lot of fun. But yeah, I think that's everything that I want to say. I'm going to jump into book number 7, The Vile Village. If I remember from the show correctly, this one I feel kind of like so towards. I would say that the I forgot the word already. The elevator, probably like a solid 4. I think it's probably my 3rd or 4th favorite. I really liked Uncle Monty and Jerome as my, like, main guardian choices, but yes, anywho. My phone is currently on the charger, so we're getting this kind of strange angle. But hi, I just finished book number 7, and I got really excited. I was like, I'm gonna jump right into the next, which I do still plan to. I have it ready to go. Thank you so much, Libby, for getting me access to this entire series, because I ain't spending $120 on it. I was so excited when I finished book 7, The Vile Village, because I was like, yes, it's time for the carnival book. That's number 9, so we're not quite there. That's okay. I really do like The Vile Village overall. I think it's kind of kooky. I do kind of wish that there was a little bit more from the Baudelaire orphans, children, siblings, where they were just, like, a little bit more a part of, like, their own schemes. Like, I wish they were able to use the rules against the villagers. Be like, well, you guys are doing this and they're doing this, and, like, have them fight against each other to, like, save themselves kind of thing. But that's not how it happened, and that's totally fine. I still liked it overall. I'm glad that there was a slight reuniting. I enjoyed Hector. He's definitely, like, in my top 3, top 4, top 3. He's just, like, an average guy. He's just a handy man who is kind of a coward when people are wearing crow costumes. Don't eat my snack. No. So I did like it overall. The vibes were fun. It was very, like, a crow-centric, hello, sweetie, crow-centric town, which is fun. Yeah, it was a good time. I didn't feel, like, super strong towards anything, but I did also like it. And it's weird that I had, like, the most, it's so weird when you've seen the TV or movie media version before you read the books, because then you kind of picture some of that, but you get, like, more context. Like, we finally got reference to the little elf thing, which is, like, in the beginning of the movie, like the original movie, and I never understood what the point of that was or, like, why it was there, and so that was really exciting for me. And then yeah, I just, like, pictured a lot of, and it's, like, it's not, like, full picturing, it's just, like, vague picturing of what happens in the Netflix show. And it's kind of fun. I like that experience. I definitely sometimes prefer watching an adaptation before reading the books because there's less room for disappointment. Instead, you're just like pleasantly surprised with the additions. But I feel like we're getting some lore with Jackie Snicket, who was murdered. And so there's happenings. Things are going on. There are some notes. They were kind of harpooned, but of course they were harpooned. What other way could you have it be done? I did enjoy it. I'm gonna at least start book 8 because I seem to be doing that. I'll read like 1 or 2 chapters of the next book and then like be done for the day. But I'm gonna at least start it and then probably check in with you guys tomorrow when I finish. But I liked it. I think it was a solid 4-star read overall. I liked it. Hello. We are still here. I didn't, set out or intend to finish book 8 in this and just sit here all day. But that does seem to be what has happened. And now I'm like, I've got the reading mojo. She's making biscuits. Why not just commit? So I think my plan is really just to read as many or as much as I can tonight. I've been trying to space these out because like each day has like a set meal plan to it, but heck it, I'm having a good time. And what if I'm not in the mood to read tomorrow? That would be bad. So we're just gonna kind of go with it. So finally we get to read my favorite, I say favorite, I haven't read it before, my most anticipated book number 9, The Carnivorous Carnival. Oh my gosh. So we leave with the Baudelaire children jumping in the trunk of Olaf's car with his minions to escape the hospital burning down because they love arson. And we are learning more about the fires, the parents, what the real voluntary fire department really means. They don't know the acronym yet still. But we're learning a lot. They have page 13 of like the Baudelaire file, and there's perhaps a survivor. Bum, bum, bum. So there's a lot more mystery going on, and I really like when there's like clues, not necessarily to solve. Like it's not like something you can just like, aha, I knew it. But I like having the little clues and like something to string the plotline along rather than just like the first 3 books were really just rinse and repeat, go somewhere new, try not to die, discover it's Count Olaf, get him caught, repeat. So now it's like figuring out mysteries. We also got the drop of the famous, oh, my rice is done. We also got the drop of the famous sugar bowl. I'm so excited about that. I do wonder if like it explains it better because I truly don't know what the sugar bowl really means. I just know it's important. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I think Tim Curry is doing such a good job with the narration as well. I think that his voices for all the characters and all of the disguises for the characters, incredible. There's a few voices I don't like, but it's, I'm not going to be too nitpicky about it, but I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. So on to hopefully my favorite one, number 9. I'm about to curl my hair, just got back from a walk. I wanted to check in because I actually finished book 9, The Carnivorous Carnival, last night. It's carnivorous because lions. I liked it. It's shorter than the last couple books have been, so that was kind of a disappointment because it felt so nothing burger. But I really like the way that Lemony Snicket was like, yeah, a carnival of freaks. And they're your average person, like somebody with a hunchback, somebody who's ambidextrous or a contortionist, and it's like nice, not exploiting people. So I thought that was like a nice way to handle it, but I liked it. I like that Olaf was just like being himself and very out in the open. I really liked Madame Lulu, the fortune teller who was reading the crystal ball, aka her archive of library stuff, so that she can give Count Olaf answers as to what's going on with the children. But I do kind of wish that we got more from her. I wish that it was a bit longer to really like solidify the carnival and also to give them a little bit more. I know that we're still on book 9 and there's 13, so there's more answers to come, but I just wish we got like a little bit more because I'm greedy and I want more. But I did like it. I gave it, I think, 4.5. I really like the carnival. I really like the vibes. I just wish it was longer for this one, to be honest. But the next 4 are longer, and then we're gonna be done, which is crazy. I did start The Slippery Slope, which is book 10, and I got basically to the point where like they fell off the cliff because Olaf knew it was them because Madame Lulu is a betrayer. But they fell off the cliff in their caravan. It went kapooey, and they're now in a cave with a bunch of snow scouts who are code wording VFD to them. But also, Carmilla, why can I never remember her name? Carmilla Spatz is back, just as bratty as ever. And I do kind of love that. So, yeah, I'm having a good time. It's weird that, like, it's been so long since I watched the show. Like, I watched the show when it came out in, like, 2019? But as I'm reading the books, I'm, like, remembering everything from the show, and that feels kind of crazy. But anyways, I'm about to curl my hair, and then I'm gonna read book 10 and do the thing. So, bye. Good evening. I just hung up new posters. Aren't they beautiful? Unrelated entirely, but hello. I am checking in because I finished. Oh, God. I forgot where I've left you off. I think we already talked about book 9 this morning. Therefore, hello, book 10 incoming. I've finished both book 10 and book 11. So, book 10, The Slippery Slope, is a decent story. It's not my favorite in the series. It's definitely like closer to a 3.5, like low 4. Not bad by any means, definitely necessary for the plot. It's where we get a lot of answers, which is so funny because I've been screaming this whole time. I'm like, I want answers! And then we got a bunch of answers, and I was like, whatever. And I think it was just like the atmosphere wasn't quite right. But something I haven't talked about, because what more is there really for me to say about the series? I adore the little songs that play within the audiobook. It's narrated by Tim Curry. Some of them I mentioned were narrated by Lemony Snicket. Lemony Snicket does read every outro letter, where it's like, you'll find the next installment and chapter in this location, and you have to do these kooky things. And so I do like the way that the audiobooks are handled and done, but also there's like, they're kind of terrible, these terrible songs that like relate to the story in whatever shape. And they're just so funny, but every time they're just a bop, and I'm like, yeah. And so I'm enjoying those. I think the audiobook experience is definitely like a high recommendation for the series. But I also just really like the breaking of the fourth wall, the foreshadowing, the very like explicit, like, this is going to happen, just you wait until you see this. Everything about that I just find so unique and fun. And so I'm just having like a good time. And then we got to book 11, which was the Something Grotto, which I remember very vividly from the show was like them being in the submarine. I had no memory of the mushrooms and the fungus infecting Sunny, but I did remember the horseradish and wasabi. It's like it's crazy the things that our minds will latch onto. But in this, we get separated from Quigley Quagmire, and I just need to have like a little girl moment for a second. What do you mean that when we were on the slippery slope, they walk themselves up the little water fountain? It's a full waterfall. It's way more dangerous than that. They walk themselves up the waterfall to find Sunny, and you mean to tell me that Lemony Snicket's like, I'm gonna give them privacy. I'm gonna give Violet her alone time with this boy because she's feeling him in some type of way. And I'm sitting here like, what do you mean she's feeling Quigley? Because she had a thing with Duncan, his brother, who thinks that he's dead. I just like the warfare that this newly 15-year-old girl is about to inflict on these brothers is absolutely criminal. Like, what do you mean that her and Duncan were flirting the entire time and we're like definitely feeling each other, as well as Isadora and Klaus, even though now Klaus, it seems like they're trying to partner Klaus up with freaking Fiona, who sucks in comparison. But now you mean to tell me that whenever Violet thinks of Quigley Quagmire, the boy with the worst name, like, what do you mean over Duncan? Because he's a cartographer and he means something to her and they got separated? I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't understand where Violet's head is at and why Lemony Snicket is OTPing those two instead of Duncan. I think her connection with Duncan was way better. And I know we're like talking about not even teenage love, but like, what are we doing? So I'm not sure how I feel about this, okay? Also, Fiona and Klaus, terrible combo. Klaus is a reader. He loves to read. Isadora is a poet. She likes to write poems. Obviously, they're going to have things to bond over. What do you mean Fiona likes fungus? No. Get out of here. No. They would not get along the same way. Absolutely not. Also, that leads me to believe that if everybody in this world that exists within, like, the families that were a part of the voluntary fire department, everyone has a niche interest. What is my niche interest? Klaus kind of has books on lock. So, like, I don't feel like I can take books because he already has books. Like, we're all readers, so it's kind of like a common, like, oh, I can fit in with him. But what would mine be then? If you had asked me this a couple months ago, I probably would have said Down to City because I was obsessed with that game, and I still am. It's still fantastic. If you're curious, this is Expedition 33, and this is Kingdom Hearts, which I feel like Kingdom Hearts is a really good, kind of niche, but still well-beloved franchise that I've been obsessed with since I learned how to play video games at a very young age in elementary school. Kingdom Hearts came out in 2002. I have a lot of knowledge on this. I was 3 when it came out. I think I started playing the game when I was probably 7 or 8. Like, it had been a few years, but, you know, aging and all that. So I've been playing it for probably 20 plus years of my life. Crazy. Absolutely bonkers. And it's the 25th anniversary. I'm sure I'm going to talk about it everywhere. But we just got news about Kingdom Hearts 4. I'm like goofed gagged. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? I'm so excited. So yeah, I've been thinking about like what my special niche interest would be that I would want a library dedicated to. Like, what's the thing? And I'm like, I guess video games in general could be a thing that I'm like super into because I really like video games and obviously reading. And I don't know what other thing I would like. Like, Sunny is into biting and cooking. So I guess like I like cooking too, but not that much. Although I should make banana bread tonight. Unrelated to this video. I don't think they eat banana bread in the series. There's been a little bit less food drops as we've gone on. We did get the lemon lime soda, which I did have with my lasagna already because I'm trying to pair things, you know, a little bit. But I don't think any food... Was any food mentioned in the slippery slope? I guess kind of, but nothing that I'm interested in eating, if I recall correctly. But yeah, the grotto was interesting because they are going on a submarine. They get like swept up by this man who's kind of crazy pirate vibes and says I a lot. Like, I captain. His stepdaughter Fiona, who has a missing brother, important to the plot. And then Phil from the Miserable Mill came back, who Klaus nearly killed with a stamp machine by like squishing his leg. He wanted to get away because it was like so bad and terrible. So he came here and we get a flashback to the chewing gum. So that was like fun. Love that. But then the kids go into the grotto where they're almost nearly attacked by mushrooms, mycelium. But it does infect Sunny, which is why they need to find an antidote, which ends up being horseradish. Does this book sound like I'm having a fever dream? Sometimes. It's just so wild. And I love like the niche, kooky, weird references where it's like, yeah, everybody knows these phrases, or everybody has these two things in their fridge, but also this third, like, completely out of nowhere. Like, the creativity within the story makes it so much more fun. Because, like, he'll be like, here's a list of 3. We all love 3s, as we all learned from the training of AI. So it's like, the first 2 things are, like, common, everybody can relate to. And then the third thing is just, like, so out of nowhere that it's just, like, the mind of a Lemony Snicket. That's crazy. But then you're also getting like, oh, thanks for that tip for hiding this in the teacup, or this about the sugar pot, or this and that. And it's like the foreshadowing and the weaving of all of the mystery going on. I really enjoy that. I do wonder how much of this, like, Lemony Snicket, Daniel Handler, like, had planned out before writing it, because the first, like 6 or so books came out within like 2 or 3 years. Like, was releasing 3 books a year for a while. And then the later series was releasing like 1 a year until it was finished. And so I'm kind of curious, like, how much of this had he planned out beforehand? Because I do think that's something a lot of authors maybe nowadays do a little bit less, is plotting and outlining for a series. And often plotting and outlining for a series with an intended end, and then the publisher being like, no, this is doing well, go further. And that also being an issue. So I'm kind of curious, like, how much of this he planned beforehand, because I just think it's so fun. It's so cool. I'm sure there's probably like a bajillion interviews, because this is such like a success story when it comes to children's literature. But what was I saying about the story? They go into the grotto where they're attacked by mushrooms and they're looking for the sugar pot, which is super important to the plot. And we learn that there's the last safe space, which is like this hotel. And I loved the hotel episode, so I'm so excited to go back to the hotel. Are you kidding me? And the grotto kind of turns out to be a flop, but when they get back to the submarine, Stepdad and Phil are gone. The crew, gone. Balloons, what do they mean? And then we have Fiona, who's like, you guys are now my crew. I'm the boss. And I was just like, girl, you suck so much. There's no way in this world Klaus would ever choose you over Isadora. And I know it's kind of weird to have siblings date twins in the same... It feels a little incestuous, but... there's so much trauma bonding there. Like, you know, it's relatable for them. Like, I think that they would just do well. But yeah, we're back in the clutches of Count Olaf. Bom, bom, bom. And Camilla Spat is now, like, the adopted child of Esme, who's so annoying because she's, like, all about the trends. From the 5, I think. I can't remember the title. Esme, Count Olaf's girlfriend. She loves to say it. And then, like, Count Olaf, they've now basically, like, adopted this child to, like, be theirs. And she's so annoying. But it was really comical how she made up this horrible song. And, hello, sweetie. She made up this, like, terrible song and was forcing the snow scouts to, like, row a boat so they can get where they needed to be. And was, like, singing and doing a tap dance because she's a fairy princess veterinarian. And it was comical. It was so funny. This book has not made me laugh out loud funny, but it has made me chuckle quite a few times where I'm just like, you know, but not like laughter. But yeah, I have very much enjoyed it. I've been having a blast. So that leaves us with the last 2. We're at the penultimate peril and the end. I don't know how much I'll get done tonight, so I'll most likely maybe have one more check-in today and then probably finish up tomorrow, which will also be our last day of cooking. So hopefully something fantastic appears. There was coconut cream cake pie in this. I don't want to make that. Could I have gone to the store to buy it? Sure. But I don't think I would like it enough to spend my money on it, you know? There's a lot of food mentioned in this. I also wasn't able to make chicken enchiladas because I just didn't have time. But that was in the Vile Village, and I was like, damn, enchiladas sound nice. But I already had, like, a meal plan set. Tricky. Very annoying. But the Salmonella Cafe has really made me want more salmon, so I did request my mom to smoke salmon for me over the weekend. So that was very kind of her. Because 1, she shared her butcher box salmon with me, and 2, she smoked it for like a couple hours for me specifically because I asked. And that's just really nice. And they're also going to smoke us ribs for Labor Day. Oh, guys, I'm eating good. Thank you, Mom. Anyways, I think that's all that I have to say about books 10 and 11. Can you tell I've just gotten off a long day at work that sucked, but has officially ended. Therefore, I can jump into other things. Therefore, reading and food. And yeah, that's kind of all I got planned. So I will check in with you guys when I have something to say about the penultimate peril. I love the word penultimate. I have my Light Lark series. And when I did the Crown Tide I would call it the penultimate Layla, because it's just a fun word. It's so exciting. And I now understand, 27 by the way, that it's penultimate for the ultimate. Like, it's the second to last for the ultimate finale, not penultimate to final, because obviously, I don't know why that took me way too many years to realize how the words work, because I was like, I don't get it. Why is final or finale just like so much lamer compared to penultimate? It's because it's meant to be followed by ultimate. Anyways, that's, I think, enough rambles for the day now, officially. So I'm gonna go, because we've been here for 14 minutes. Goodbye.
Harper Children's Audio presents A Series of Unfortunate Events, Book the 13th. The End by Lemony Snicket. Performed by Tim Curry.
Hello. I've finished the last two. Should I have checked in sooner? Absolutely. I loved everything about book 11. No, book 12. I can count, I promise. I loved everything about the hotel, with having all of, like, many callbacks and all of the characters coming back around and just, like, seeing everybody, even if it ends in a smidgen of a penultimate peril, you know? Like, there's just something about everything that happened in it, especially when they meet Dewey, who is like the third secret triplet to Frank and Ernest, who are like the good and bad on either side of the VFD. And I just loved the entire chapter and conversation that they had with Dewey about basically like the big moral of everything, of just like, you just have to do the best that you can, and it's okay if you're not perfect, but you are noble enough. And like the heart of the story just being like what's right versus what's good, and what makes somebody bad, even though like nuance is the thing and life is unfair and sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. I just overall liked the message of the story, even though it's not like a happy-go-lucky one. It's no, you know, elves and sunshine, but I just adored the experience. And then I'm gonna be so for real, so honest, when I went into the end, which is obviously the final book, I remembered what happened in the show, and I was like, what a lame ending. Like, I didn't really like the ending. I didn't get it. I didn't think it was that great. And so I didn't think I was gonna like the book. I kind of went into it like ready to be a hater, and was so pleasantly surprised. I think my big issue with this entire series is just a lack of understanding ages and time. And I know it's supposed to be ambiguous, and Lemony Snicket really like alludes to a lot of things happening. Like, he alludes that everybody in the hotel is dead. He alludes that everybody on the boat might have died, but he doesn't really explicitly tell the reader anything. There's no like hand holding. It's not explicitly saying like this is the hard truth. It kind of lets the reader determine what they want to believe. Like, I would like to believe that all of the Guardians got what they deserved in the end, whether they survived the fire or not. I think it's a perfect example for children writers, young adult writers, to trust their readers, to give them these lessons where it's explaining phrases and explaining language. I can read subtext and context much better than I can in person. Like, when having a face-to-face conversation, I take things far more literal than I think everybody expects from me. But I'm also incredibly sarcastic, and so there's a lot of like, you know, there's a lot of give and take when it comes to these conversations. But I really appreciated, by the end, all of the language and explanations of like, this is what this word means in this context, like this is what we're trying to say, because words can have multiple meanings. And I did, by the end, really appreciate that, even though in the beginning I was kind of a hater about it, because I was like, I know what words are. Turns out I ended up liking the charm and the formula quite a lot by the end. I don't know, I thought it was just wonderful. I don't really have like a whole lot more to say on the series. Like, I think it ended really well. I was getting a little choked up when Olaf and Kit have like their final poetry moment on the beach. Like, the scene in the show is so well done. Yeah, but anyways, I really like this one. I would say that they're both like 5 stars, and I think just because it is ending the series and it does it in such a way that's like fascinating, because the fact that I went into this and I was like, oh yeah, I know it has something to do with like the parents being a part of this voluntary fire department, and vaguely understanding what that really means, because I've not read like the other Lemony Snicket universe. Like, I know there's a prequel that follows Lemony Snicket, and then there's also like the unofficial biography. I haven't read any of those. And if freaking Daniel Handler, for like the what would that be? Where we passed the 25th, so maybe like the 30th anniversary, like dropped sequel series, like 3 books, 2 books, a standalone or something of just like where the siblings are at now and like what they're getting up to. I would love it. I know that's not the purpose of it. It'd be very cool for the kids who grow up with the books in the series to like see those characters as adults, like as they've also aged. I thought that'd be cool, but like I'm sure that's never gonna happen. But oh yes, the voluntary fire department had a schism, which basically means that people split to either side depending, like either put out fires or start fires. But in the end of the day, they're all like morally neutral, like they do good and do bad, the ends justify the means type of situation where it's like they're all spies, they all have the same disguise kit, they're all doing the same shenanigans, but they see each other as the enemy and therefore they can't get on the same page about, like, similar to how I feel about politics. I feel like a lot of people want the same end product but don't necessarily have the same like idea of how to get to said end product. But I did not remember, and it's not explicitly said in this series, like in the book series, but there's this incredible video that I highly recommend if you like want somebody to like recap the books to you, if you don't like really want to reread them or don't want to read them, or you don't want to rewatch the show or movie. Like, it recaps it but also talks about the prequel series and the unofficial biography and just like some of the things and theories, like the theory of what's in the sugar bowl. What do you think is in the sugar bowl? I've gone on so many tangents. The thing that I'm trying to get at is I'm so baffled by the fact that the VPD basically being a cult, a cult for specifically gifted kids, kids who have that like really latch on to like a thing, because Ishmael on the island, who was the reason that the Baudelaires had to like leave and everything and like change the island so much, like was training these kids and drugging them with coconut milk opioids basically because he was a teacher and he saw these kids that were like phenomenal and like handing in really wacky assignments, and he was like, I can do something with this information. And it's basically like a cult where they kidnap kids and kill the parents in a fire to make them do spy shit, which is just like crazy, and I just want more explanation from that. And I think if we got my perfect world where we got a sequel 20 years in the future or something where it's like Violet's between 25 and 35, depends on how far, 10-year jump, 20-year jump, I'd be cool with either. But imagine a time jump where we get to see all of the siblings and baby Beatrice all like, you know, living their lives. We'd have like maybe multi POVs, or it'd still be written from Lemony Snicket as like an old cranky man, who I would love the audiobooks to be narrated by Kronk if that is the case. I would love to see like either them taking VFD down or like changing the system in some way with it, but also like being able to give us more lore and more understanding what the heck is going on, because as much as I enjoy the series, I have so many questions that are never going to get answered. And I know Daniel Handler's still out there. I'm sure he's sitting pretty. I know that he was a part of the Netflix show because I guess he didn't really like the movie, which, you know, fair. Stephen King can attest that's a common sentiment. He had his theory, which he says that there's like a confirmed like absolute truth as to what is in the sugar bowl. And there's like 3 theories that are floating around. And I don't know if I subscribe to the one that's in the show where it's like it's the sugar that also has an antidote to the mycelium that kills everybody and is like super deadly and poisonous within an hour, or if there's literally just nothing in the sugar bowl. I feel like nothing would be more interesting, but because the show was like, yeah, it's the sugar, and they mentioned like once it having something important, and also it being like bitter tea because they're using bitter sugar because horseradish, I don't know. I would love to know which sugar bowl conspiracy you find yourself, which camp you're in, but that is going to end this very long series. My goodness, this is probably one of the videos that's taken me the absolute longest to get to, and I am so fulfilled that I've done it. The show came out in like, what, 2019? And I remember watching it and I really loved it. I grew up with the movie and it was like one of the most special things. Like, it was one of those movies that I'd watch probably more often than not. Like, I have probably 5 movies, maybe 10, in that range, of just movies that I would watch on repeat constantly. They were like my go-to comfort movies. The top 3, Home Alone 2, that I borrowed the VHS from my 2nd grade teacher who was a saint, and I'd watch it almost every day after school for a very long time. Ella Enchanted and A Series of Unfortunate Events. Those are like 3 movies that like really meant a lot to me in elementary school that I like watched religiously. I really love the movie for what it is, and I can separate it from the series. Like, I do think that adaptations are like that, where you kind of have to separate. You can't expect them to be the same. Things are going to change for a movie format because obviously like having fun little puzzles isn't as interesting to see on a screen as it is in a book. So I understand the changes, but having the show as well that I watched so long ago and like remember in a haze, but as I was reading the series, like remembered so vividly and was like able to recall so much more. It just felt very nostalgic to read the series, even though it's not a series that I read as a kid, which is like interesting. I don't think I've had that experience before, but it was really enjoyable, and I'm so glad that you guys got to join me on this little journey and we got to experience this together. With all that said, I think I'm gonna let you go because I think this has probably been a long video, and I still got a root beer float to have, so I'll see you guys later. Bye!